everyone, welcome back to an introduction to general linguistics. In today's session, we're going to discuss about the history of English. When we are talking about the history of English, we are talking about the influences in an English language. So it is approximately there are 6 major aspects that is influencing the development of English as a language. The first is French, number 2 Greek, number 3 Latin, number 4 others. Others here refers to other languages, and then number 5 Germanic, and the last is names. It is estimated that there are 29% of English vocabularies that were taken from French, and then 26% of English vocabularies that were taken from Germanic, and then there are 6% that were taken from Greek, 6% that were taken from others, and then the biggest vocabularies of English language were taken from Latin. If we look at the development of English under the historical order, the first influence were coming from Roman invasions. Roman people come to England in 55 before Christ, and they brought Latin language into the country. So English language is fully affected by the presence of Latin language at the time. The second phase of the history was in 450 AD, the Germanic migrations. This is the period where Old English were formed. So the people of Anglo-Saxon brought the language into the country and then influenced the language there. That was firstly influenced by Latin. The next influence was Christianity in the 6th century. So through religion, Christian, the people bring a new language that were taken from Latin, Greek, and also Hebrew. They influence the development of Old English. The next phase of development of English was in 18th to 11th century during Viking Invasions. At that time, the people from Scandinavian brought their language to the country and influenced the development of English. And then the next is in 1066, where Norman invasions bring French and also Latin to the country. But at first, French was also influenced by Latin. So there are several processes where the development of English were influenced by Latin language. So at early influence, the Latin loans, so Roman soldiers and priests come to the British Isles before the massive invasions of the Northern Europeans. And then it is followed by the Northern invasions when Angles, Jute, Saxon, Frisian, and also Danes, and also Norwegian brought new language to the country. And then Anglo-Saxons and Jute is taken as the Germanic invaders, who call them as the native Celt or Wales, or foreigners if we translate into English, from which the name of Welsh is derived. The Celt called the invader Saxon regardless their tribe, and this practice was followed by the early Latin writers. References to the name of the country as England, land of Angles, from which the name of the country England do not appear until 1000. This is based on the research conducted by David Crystal. And then also, according to the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, although most European chronicles of the era appeared in Latin or French, these were written in Old English. This also supports the fact that at that time, a new language, we call it as Old English, was formed. This manuscript make up multiple chronicles. The chronicles cover the period from around the birth of Christ to the 12th century. And then the next manuscript that support Old English is Beowulf. This manuscript is a copy from oral tradition, which describe about certain myth and also story circulating around the people at that time. By the influence of several languages in the country, there is a period where a country used a bilingual language. So British bilingualism here refer to the conditions where people there use 2 languages. Number 1 is French. French held its place as the language of government, law, literature, and along with Latin in the church. So those are languages used by higher class society. Meanwhile, the second language, English or Old English, remained the language of the household staff and other so-called common people. Sometimes upper-class employers learn English in order to talk with their servant. So there are two layers of people here. Those aristocracy who use French, Latin, and then lower class society who use English. This is the era of bilingualism at that time. And then we have several words of French that were taken into English. Baron, Count, Courtier, Duchess, Duke, and then appetite, beef, biscuit, confection, and then ambush, army, battle, enemy, by heart, come to the head, have mercy, on hold one piece, take leave, and etc. We use those words until today, and maybe some of you don't realize that those languages were taken from French. And then we also have pairs, because at that time there was bilingualisms on the level of languages, French and also British. We have pair. We have sheep and mutton, calf and veal, deer, venison, pig and pork, maybe you know that, and then begin commands, child and infant, doom and judgment, freedom and liberty, happiness, felicity, hearty, and also cordial. This is really depicted in the condition at that time. When you say hearty reception and also cordial reception, when you say cordial reception, it is more classy compared to hearty reception. Well, actually, both words have the same meaning. And then holy and saintly, meal, repast, stench, and then aroma, wish, and desire. And then the influence of other languages in English can also be identified from several words. From Latin, for example, we have alias, homicide, and then diocese, mediator, scripture, lucrative, and also tolerance. From Netherlands, we have Paul and also skipper. From Spanish, we have pork and also chefy. And then from Portuguese, we have marmalade. And then from Arabic, we have saffron, admiral, matrice, algebra, alkali, and also zenith. And then from Persian, we have chess, rook, and also checkmate. The next is about Middle English. Middle English is the period we call as Middle English, which runs from the beginning of 12th century until the middle of the 15th century. And then the dictionary, grammar books appear, recording and prescribing language use. And then it is Samuel Johnson's A Dictionary of the English Language, published in 1755, further standardized English usage. And then next is the period we call as Early Modern English. This is the period where around 1400 until 1800. So this period is indicated by the Renaissance period, and then Shakespeare, Protestant Reformations, printing presses, and then first English colonizations of America, which brought the word tobacco, potato, and other words enter the language of English. And then another quite influential period which influenced the development of English is Bible translations. John Wycliffe risked his life by translating the Bible in the 14th century. Although he survived, opponents burned his bone after his death. And then next is King James Bible in 1611. These translations become one of the most commonly used Christian Bibles in the world. And if you're a Christian, you use it today. And then also we see the development of English in the level of education. Shakespeare read surveyed at a time when scholars considered Spanish more important language than English. So if we draw the constructions of vocabularies, it's really interesting to see the constructions of English vocabularies. According to some linguists, English contains some 500,000 words, and Shakespeare employed about 30,000 of them. And then the King James Bible contains about 12,000. So generally, speakers with well-developed vocabularies employ around 30,000 vocabularies. What about you? And then that leaves the most articulate among us about 470,000 words in our mind. So what about English today? So English today, we use English not only in the level of education, but also in daily communications when we go to another country. Because we can take English not only as national language in England, but also as lingua franca, a language that can be used by people to communicate among culture. And then next one, we'll talk about English as a global context. So more than 40 countries around the world consider English as their primary language. This is according to a survey conducted by University of Texas at Austin website. And then many other countries such as India, Nigeria recognize English as one of their official language. In the context of Indonesia, English is still a foreign language, but if you go to Singapore and also to Malaysia, they consider English not only as foreign language but also as their second language. So, does language change will still continue? Yes, language is developing and will not be stopped. So every day languages change, whether they lose vocabulary or they add another vocabulary due to many aspects: technology, culture, trade, economy, politics, and etc. So this is the end of the lecture. Thank you for participating in this lecture. See you in another session. Goodbye.